Hey guys, welcome back to the Nisi Perspective. I'm Nisi, and this is where I share my thoughts on life, womanhood, and everything we experience, just from my perspective. Let's get into it. Have you ever heard of the phrase, why buy the cow when you're getting the milk for free? And honestly, while I do hate that entire phrase, it's a very interesting topic that I really wanted to dive into. But before we do that, I'm going to go into the globe affirmation. I am worthy of a relationship that grows with intention. I do not overextend myself to earn what should be freely given. I was listening to The Breakfast Club. I think this was about 2 weeks ago-ish. And they were playing the snippet of Meg Thee Stallion's new song, and it's all about her breakup that she encountered with Klay Thompson. And it was diving a little bit into how she's tired of wifey girl and she's a hot, like, it was like the whole premise of the song, but remember, it was a snippet. And I remember they called out and they asked questions to listeners, like, how do you define wifey and what is wifey to you? Just getting everybody's opinion. I feel like this is a topic that we always hear about. And as somebody that's in their 30s now, head into their mid 30s, I feel like this is a very important topic because a lot of us, and I will say I am a woman, so I'm going to speak from a woman's perspective. There are different ways we define what is wifey. And I know that's a huge thing because everybody defines wifey differently. There's some people that define wifey as cooking, cleaning, living together, while there's others that define it as more like financial support, helping build a business, taking care of children, emotional labor, and playing therapist. And I think once you actually sit down and define what is the wifey to you, what are things you will do as a girlfriend, as a fiance, and as a wife, I feel like you would be better off. Since we're talking about stepping into our best selves, let me put you on Phyto glasses, which is FYTOO. They instantly level up your look while you're at work, brunch, or just on Zoom. Plus, you could get 15% off by using my code NICEYS, NIECEYYS. And also, if you want to get some prescription glasses without breaking the bank, definitely hit up. As women, we tend to overextend ourselves to try to prove our worth to a man that they should marry us. And honestly, that tends to be our biggest downfall when it comes to relationships. And that's why I always tell people to listen to Shera Seven and her entire perspective. And don't get me wrong, I know in a previous episode when I was just explaining about when you're finding a man, we're all not going to find a millionaire in a man. But what I mean, I want to clear that up. I mean, find a man that's generous. Like, there's a man that could have a regular 9-to-5 job and he's generous in terms of paying all the bills and providing that support, as opposed to a guy that could be a millionaire and he's not doing anything for you. He's not providing you financial support, emotional support, mental support, none of that, all of the above. That's more so what I was trying to explain that process about that. Because I don't want people thinking that, oh, how are you 1 week trying to bash Shera Seven and now no, I'm not doing that at all. Because I've learned a lot actually listening to her podcast, and I feel like she has a great platform to explain these things to women, for women to generally understand. She explains everything. Don't overextend before commitment. Don't overinvest before commitment. Don't audition for a position you have not been given. Let people show you their intentions through actions, and value yourself and your time. And one of her most popular phrase is, don't give husband level benefits for boyfriend level commitment. And sprinkle, sprinkle. I feel like a lot of us women, we tend to do that. Because the way how I define wifey is when you're actual wife. When you go to that courthouse and you sign those papers, to my mind, you're a wife, and anything that you do, that would be considered wifey things. Don't get me wrong. Back when we were in middle school, high school, we thought it was cute saying, yeah, I'm wifey. You know what? Back in middle high school, we were young. That was just like a young thing. Like, you just be like how when you have your little boyfriend or your little girlfriend, like, yeah, that's wifey, I'm his wifey. Like, we used to say stuff like that. And honestly, I just feel like because we were younger, that's just like how we categorize our little relationship with our little, as teenagers. But now as an adult, especially when you're in your, I feel like after the age of 30, there are just certain things that you have to sit down and define yourself. What do you want in a relationship? What are you expecting out of a relationship? And what is your end goal? Because a lot of women, they say their end goal is never marriage. Okay, no judgment there. A lot of women say their end goal is never marriage. But for women, that end goal is marriage. You need to sit down and understand what is wifey to you, what you will accept, what you will not accept, and understand your position as a girlfriend, because I understand my position as a girlfriend. There's nothing that I'm going to overextend myself that I consider to be wifey things, because there are many things I consider to be wifey things. Like, number one, I am not, and I absolutely mean not, taking out a loan for no man. I mean, like, if we get a loan together, absolutely not. Like, when I hear people say they buy houses as boyfriend and girlfriend, to me, absolutely not. That's just something level that I'm not going to do. I don't judge anybody in what they do, but for me personally, I'm not doing that. Number two, me personally, if it happens, it happens, but I prefer to have kids with my husband. Hey, if I do not have kids before my husband and I probably have a kid out of marriage, you know what? It is that's life. Sometimes life happens, things happen, but my end goal is always to be married when I have kids. Number three, I'm not living together unless we're married. That's just my perspective. That's my goal. Everybody's to each his own. I don't judge anybody. Don't judge me. Another thing I'm not doing, I'm just not going into that above and beyond emotional, mental support that a wife takes toes on as a girlfriend. There's some things I'm not doing. Don't get me wrong, there are discussions that we have, but there are just certain things that I just feel like should be at a wifey level or a wife level, and I'm at a girlfriend level. And that's completely understandable, because when you are a girlfriend, you are still learning things, you are still understanding things, you are observing things, you are thinking to yourself, will this partner be a great husband? Will this partner be a great father? If you decide you want to have kids. Those are things you sit down and you think about when you are a girlfriend. You think to yourself, how can you progress to be a wife? What are some things that you need to work on for yourself? I feel like that's the level, and that's what you have to define for yourself, what you think is wifey and what you think is not. Because I just feel like I see a lot of women doing girlfriend things, and I see a lot of women doing wife things, and they're a girlfriend, and then they get bit, and then they wonder what happened, what did they do wrong. Now, when Shera makes the point about women overextending, she defines it as maybe cooking, cleaning, paying the bills, acting like a wife, and supporting dreams of their partner, which is their boyfriend. And in the meantime, that person is not having no form of communication about a proposal, future plans, commitment. So those are things you have to think about as well, because why would you want to play a wife type of role when you see a man that's not even willing to make some form of commitment? Because if you see that man only making commitment for fantasy football or playing video games but never towards marriage, then what are you doing? Like, seriously, at this point, I feel like you are purposely wasting your own time. In my mind, this is the way I think. If I'm with somebody and they have no form of commitment of moving on or growing or anything, but they expect me to do everything, live together, pay most of the bills, pop out kids left, right, and center, put loans in their name, be there emotionally for them, support their dreams, all this, and I am not a wife, then what am I doing? Why am I playing house? We're not kids anymore. This is not no playing house nonsense. That's the way I think about it. As I got older and I become an adult, there's just some things that I see that I know that's crazy. Because let me tell you guys something that's crazy. I remember when back in I think I was like in my mid-20s or early 20s, and I remember I was dating this one guy. And we've been dating for literally almost a year. And I kept telling him, I said, why are you... why, when are we going to get to the level where we're going to be more exclusive and we're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend? This man sat and told me, and he basically said to me that he's still getting to know me and he doesn't know that yet. At this point now, you're wasting my time. And you know what I did? I left. Now, my mistake was being there for almost a year. But the reason why I was trying to be more genuine in that process was because, one, I was seeing him make an effort. Like, he lived in a little bit of a distance. He would always come up around my lunchtime to see how I'm doing. He would always take me out. It was just things like that I said to myself, okay, maybe we would talk on the phone a lot. It was just more so we were getting to that level. So I'm thinking in my head, maybe this is what's gonna progress and what's gonna move forward farther. But it wasn't until more and more when I started having conversation, I started asking the right questions, because keyword, you have to ask the right questions. Because one thing I noticed, especially when you're talking to men, you have to be very, very direct. Like, you have to explain it down to a T, because if you try to be so subtle in certain things, they're not gonna catch on to that. So you have to literally ask them out the blue. And then that's when he basically said that. And I said, okay, that is point out you're wasting my time. And there's no point in moving forward. And he was okay. He said, all right. But that's the way I see it. The way I see it is that if I'm with somebody and they want me to go above and beyond, and I don't see them making any form of commitment, any form of timeline, then what is the whole point? And I realize I see a lot of that happen with a lot of women. And it's like sometimes we get sucked into that, oh my God, I'm just trying out, or, this is my man, I want to make sure he's good, or that. Because it's the same thing. I never forget. I had a previous coworker, and I will never forget, she told me how she used to get up in the morning, she used to cook this man breakfast, she used to iron his clothes, she used to do so much for this man. And I'm thinking, like, they engaged, I'm thinking marriage, like, I'm thinking at this point is the end goal. And she flat out said, no, that's my boyfriend. And I was like, why are you doing all that? And she was like, yeah, that's my man, I treat him right. And you know what? They broke up, nothing in sight. And I just feel like there are some things that, and I understand that some women, they feel like, you know what, you want to be able to treat your man. There's nothing wrong with treating your man. There's a difference between treating to an extent and then going above and beyond for somebody that's not doing the same. Because sometimes we get blindsided in that entire thing. We get very blindsided.
I wanted another perspective on this topic, so I asked one of my best friends, Janelle.
I feel like wife duties versus girlfriend duties, of course, is very different. But I think sometimes when you have a big heart, like me, for example, you tend to not stay in your role, I guess you could say. Like, I take things upon myself that really shouldn't have anything to do with me, like, to be honest. When I say that, I mean, like, basically saying you're just going above and beyond. Like, you really don't have to. You could just stay in, like, the girlfriend role, meaning, like, you're doing bare minimum or just, like, girlfriend stuff. So, let's say you know that, I don't know, your boyfriend's complaining about something, like, let's say his neck is always hurting him or something, and he doesn't make an appointment to go to the doctor. I mean, yeah, he's a grown person, a grown man. He should be able to do that. But maybe he needs, like, a little support in that, and you make the appointment with him or bring him or whatever. I feel like that's, like, wife duties. Or, like, girlfriend duties is, like, you get a bacon, egg, and cheese at the store, and you get one for him too. But, like, with a wife, you're thinking, oh my God, what is my husband gonna eat after work? Getting his food prepared, ironing his uniform. I don't know, I'm thinking about the old Caribbean style. But stuff like that, like, that's above and beyond. So I feel like it just varies. But sometimes when you're a really kind person, it's kind of hard for you to, like, limit it at a bare minimum or something. And it really goes based off, like, the thought that counts. Like, I just feel like it depends on your personality. It depends on who you are as a person and stuff like that. There's no really right or wrong, but, there's certain things that we don't have to do. Like, we do it out of the kindness of our own heart. Like, there was an issue with the AC. My boyfriend and I don't live together, but I mean, I'm always here. And he gave the phone to me to speak to the representative because, like, I'm here all the time, or he just feels more comfortable with me because I have, like, a stronger approach with customer service. So I took over the phone call, like, stuff like that. Or, like, I don't know, he needs assistance with an application or something. Like, I could assist him with that. I mean, yeah, he could read, he could write, but that's just, me. I just, think about those things. Or if I know, oh, another good example, winter's coming up or whatever, and I see some winter boots, like work boots or whatever, I would get it for him. Why? Because, I see it. I know he mentioned he needed boots or whatever. And that's just, going above and beyond. And I think it's also like you have to look at your parents too. Like I learned a lot from my mom. Like I see how my mom is like with her own husband, and my mom, like, she would iron his uniform. She knows he has to go to work at night or whatever. She'll take out his food. She'll pack his lunch, that type of stuff. Some people may be like, I'm not doing all that. Like, they're a grown person. They could do that. But it's just, I don't know. It's just really how you are raised, and you see how, like, maybe your parents interact with each other, and you just do that. And sometimes people aren't really receptive towards that style either, because they could look at it like, I could do things for myself. Like, I don't need you to do things for me. But it's like, that's wife stuff. That's what I would consider like wife stuff. And I feel like it's okay to go above and beyond, but at the same time, it's like, I guess in my case, it's hard for me to do things like, I don't know, for less, I guess you could say. I don't know how to really describe it. I feel like I just always do like wife stuff. It could be a bad thing, but I think that's just how like I am. I mean, I'm even so nice that like, okay, like for example, my boyfriend does like physical work, so he's always like complaining about body aches, all that type of stuff. And when I usually see him on the weekends, I always like give him like a full body massage. I make it seem like we're really in a spa. I put on the massage music and all that type of stuff. So it's like, I don't have to do those things. And it could be like, people saying like, oh, why can't he do that for you? He does do it for me, but I just know it's different for him with physical work. So I just think that you have to do what's best for you. You have to know your partner, and that's it.
Then I have to think about it. Sometimes the issue isn't really the task. It's not like the issue is cooking dinner. It's more of giving everything while receiving very little. So I sometimes that makes me think. I don't think it's more about if his wife thinks. It's more so is the effort that you are given, is that being reciprocated? Because it goes back to what I said. What's the whole point of going above and beyond for somebody that's not doing the same? At this point, he's thinking boyfriend, strict at one level, nothing. And you over here trying to be a whole wife. And he's looking at you like, I didn't ask you to do it. Because the worst thing you could have is for a guy to tell you, I didn't ask you to do all of that. Now, it's like now you're trying to get punched in the face. Because what you mean you didn't ask for all of that? Because I could imagine how some women, like, they're over here thinking that, like, you know what, this is like, they see a future with this man. Because don't get me, there are men out here that will give action and then later on tell you otherwise. Just exactly what Meg, like with Meg and Clay Thompson. This man Clay, what did he do? She cooked for Thanksgiving for his family. She's always cooking for his family. He named a boat after her. I think they got a house together. It was just more so what he was showing that made it feel like it was a commitment. And he wanted it to be further. And I can understand why she probably felt the same way by his actions and his response to things. Why she, in her mind, thought, you know what? This is going to move on. This is going to grow into a marriage. This is the person I'm probably going to spend the rest of my life with. Yeah, he may have his little temper tantrums, but this is the person that I envision with myself. And the whole time, she had egg on her face because he wasn't even thinking that. For this man to literally say that he's not ready for that type of commitment is crazy to me. And there are people out here that love bomb. That is another thing. When it comes to you, try not to overextend, especially if you see somebody doing a little bit too much in the beginning, because love bombing is a real thing. And I think a lot of us women, we have to be very careful and very selective with the people we want in our corner, especially when it comes to men and dating men and who we want to be the father of our children, if you decide you want to have children, or if you want to be your husband or your lifelong partner. You have to think about those things. It's very important. And it hurts me, it does, that some women literally go break their back off or go above and beyond for a man that's not reciprocating no form of effort. But then on top of that, sometimes I have to blame the woman, because I'm like, do you have low self-esteem issue? Are you insecure with yourself? What makes you think like this is normal? Like, can you imagine you as a woman, as a girlfriend, you wake up every morning, cook this man breakfast, you press his clothes, you wash his clothes, you clean, you're paying 50-50 to your roommate. You probably have children by him, and you're taking care of the children, and he's not doing anything because in his mind, I didn't ask to do all that. I'm just a boyfriend. That's like a slap in the face. That's like literally somebody going pop, 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 slap you in the side of the face. Sometimes us women, not all, but some of these women out here are birds. Because these men would literally play you in your face and you would sit down and you would take that. Why? Why are you giving wife benefits as a girlfriend? Why are you doing that? There's just certain things that, again, that's why you have to sit and define yourself. What do you think are wifey things and what do you think are actually just girlfriend type of things? Because, again, we all have our own definition and our thoughts on what they are. Now, I always think about commitment because there are many people that have been with their partner for years, no commitment, or people that have been with their partner for like less than 2 months commitment and that effect. So think of it like this. You have scenario A, where somebody's been together for 2 years. They talk about marriage. They're building together. They're making efforts, making plans. That's different as opposed to scenario B, where they've been together for 10 years. They don't have any conversation about marriage or commitment. They have no timeline, no movement. That's a whole different conversation because that doesn't make sense to have, hey, somebody in 2 years. Because one thing I have learned to do is when I was back out dating, I was very direct. I feel like it's very important to be direct. I'm very direct in that aspect because one, I don't want to have my time wasted. Number two, I don't want you thinking it's okay for you to waste my time. That's the way I think about it. And I feel like the couple in scenario A, they sat down, they've been together for 2 years, but they had those conversations about commitment. They had those conversations about growing. They had those conversations about making plans. They had those conversations about building. That's completely different than what you heard in scenario B, where they've been together for 10 years and they're not making that. Because I feel like that's another thing that captures women. They've been with somebody for 10 years or so, and they get very comfortable, and he gets extremely comfortable, and he always likes to use that one line, "We good as how we are, baby. What you mean? What you talking about, baby? We good as how we like." You should not be having to be begging somebody for commitment, and I feel like that's what happens. A lot of women, they beg some of these men for commitment, and then when they get that commitment, aka marriage, is not what they expected, and he's not the husband because they didn't actually sit down and think, is this somebody that actually wants to be married to me or to be a husband or move on in this type of level? Because you could be with somebody for 10 years and they could be very stagnant. They could have no ambition, no effort, and you're seeing that. But it's because you already invested your time into it. You're saying to yourself, I'm leaving here with something. What did Denzel say? I'm leaving here with something. So you're thinking, okay, we're just going to get married and the things are going to be better. And then things are not better because nothing's changed. Besides maybe your last name in that effect, but nothing has changed. Nothing in his behavior, nothing in his action, his effort, nothing. And that's the problem. You also can't force somebody to marry you. So the way I see it is that if you are very direct in what you want and you're not doing certain things and that person expects you to go above and beyond to them just to be a girlfriend, you might as well tell him to sit his ass down. He better sit his ass down. And this what goes on to the girlfriend trap, because a lot of women get stuck in this girlfriend trap. Some women become the caregiver, the maid, the therapist, the financial support, and the personal assistant while ignoring their own needs. And then this makes the woman feel like, hey, am I in a partnership or are you carrying the relationship? Again, are you building a partnership or are you carrying a relationship? Because that's different. A lot of the girlfriends be carrying on them heavy ass titles, and when stuff hit the fan, it's like egg on their face. How many stories have you heard where a lot of women that were, and I know people like to say, oh my God, you're talking about death and money. No, what I'm trying to say is, how many conversations have you heard about women, they were girlfriends, right? And they get with a man. And since they were not married, he unexpectedly passes away. And let's say that they bought a house together. Let's say they have kids together. Remember, she's a girlfriend. So the benefits that she thinks she has as a wife, she doesn't have those. When it comes to life insurance, that more than likely goes to the beneficiary, which would probably be the mother or the father in that aspect. When it comes to life insurance, maybe the children may be added onto the life insurance, how that works. I know that's a little bit touchy. I have my life insurance license, so that gets a little bit wonky with those type of scenarios. But when you sit down and think about that, that happens. Or in many cases, you hear about a lot of women that, hey, this is boyfriend and he's got into an accident. He's laying on the bed, and the doctor comes and asks you, or the nurse comes and asks you, and they're like, who are you? And you're saying, oh, I'm a girlfriend. And they're going to go right to the mother. You think you're going to have say. You're not going to have any say. And when I hear a lot of these like women say, yeah, but I'm the girlfriend. I meet him once. I'm the only one for him. And you guys have nothing to back up for that. Nothing besides egging your face and being a bird. Nothing. When I hear some, I'm like, you have nothing. You are a bird. You get left with nothing. When the man dead and gone, you get left with nothing. Some of these girls out here are yamed for true, like them are yamed, because literally when I see this stuff on TikTok, when I see this stuff on Instagram, when I watch these movies, like even though they're just movies or dramas, you just see it. But it's like, yo, some of the women out here really been a yamed. And you're saying to yourself, that's why I always go and ask, do you have low self-esteem? Are you insecure? Because what is the reasoning behind this? What is the reasoning behind that? Like, I literally sit down and I literally sit down and I question it. And I say to myself, and I'm saying to myself, is it me? Am I the one that's overthinking it? Am I the one that's overdoing it? Am I probably thinking about this a little bit more than I need to? Like, I sometimes think about that, because what would make you sit down and try to go above and beyond for somebody that doesn't want to do that to you? Why would you do that? Why would you want to be in a partnership, well, supposedly a partnership, where you just have to carry the relationship on your back like that? The meme of the woman going upstairs every new year instead of being next and side by side to your man, like Brock and Michelle are always together side by side. That's a partnership. It's not he's way at the back and you over here carrying every load on your head. Why are you doing that to yourself? Why? And then I had to find more so the psychology reasoning behind this. And you know your girl did, because one thing about me, I'm gonna dig deeper into this. So there's a concept called sunk cost fallacy, and it's people stay investing because they already invested so much. Not because they're happy, but the mindset becomes, I've already spent 8 years with this person, instead of, is this relationship moving forward in the direction that I want? So remember what I was saying previously, how the scenario between being with somebody for 10 years? Yes, so literally there are instances where people say, I invested so much time and effort into this person, they don't want to start all over. But I'm letting you know now, there's nothing wrong with starting all over. If you have given yourself so much for a man in terms of being a girlfriend and your girlfriend duties, and he does not want to marry you, that's just something he does not want to do. And sometimes us as women, we have to come to terms and be okay with it and move on. Because my motto is, what one man will not do, the next man will. And if that man will not, the next one will. That's the motto in my head, and that's the motto my mother always told me. If he's not holding his weight, the next man will. If he's not professing his love, the next man will. Because how many stories have you heard of women that they are with this guy for 1,000 years, they've been boyfriend and girlfriend, moving together, everything, and then all of a sudden they break up and he's with somebody, they've been together for a year, and they're married, engaged. And then you're looking like, that's messed up. That should have been me. No, it should not, because you should have left when you had the chance to. This reminds me of when I was at a previous job. And there was this one coworker, I would say. She was with this guy for over 5 years. This guy told her straight up that he did not want to get married. And you know what she did? She stayed for those 5 years and wasted her damn time. Then got upset because he didn't want to get married and she wanted marriage. What in your right possible mind made you think you were going to change that man's mind? The only person that could change a man's mind is that man. So while you are breaking your back off, going above and beyond, moving in together, probably having bills in each other's names, out here taking out loans with each other's all willy-nilly, doing all these stuff all willy-nilly, just for somebody to tell you they never want to get married and they told you. You know how much egg on your face that has to be? And when she told me that, don't get me wrong, I felt so bad for her, but then I said no. Because one thing I've always heard is when a man says something the first time, you always believe it. And I'm not trying to say I'm discrediting men. This is not like no men bashing. No. What I'm trying to say is if you meet a guy for the first time and you guys are conversing and this man in the date or just out of talking says to you that he does not want to get married, and in your brain you thinking this is a challenge, and then you are together 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years and you're still wondering why, who wasted whose time? Because if he was very direct and he told you, that's something that you need to be like, you know what, this ain't it. Nah, this ain't it. No. And then move on. There's nothing wrong with moving on. But then again, some people get stuck, sunk cost fallacy. Some people get stuck in that. And when they get stuck in that, it's nothing more that they can do because they feel like they already invested in their time. But it's actually something you can do. Get your ass up. It hurts. Trust me, it's gonna hurt. Any heartbreak to a human being is gonna hurt. But it's better you go through that heartbreak, you move on and count your loss, instead of staying there for years, being extremely unhappy, and then leave when it's literally too late. And it's never too late. But you catch my drift. The only thing I could say is I'm more than happy for Meg Thee Stallion, meaning that she got this opportunity to see how you can be too trusting to people. And especially considering the fact that I know she lost her mother and her father and she was looking for that love. And this man opened his arms up and had her at probably family gatherings. She's cooking for them, doing all of this stuff. And he knew he didn't want that. That's what I feel bad for her with. I just pray for her to get the healing. I pray that the next man I get into her life is a great man. I mean, a great man. And does not do her like that man Clay did. At all. And this is for all the other women out there. I pray that you do not end up in a situation like that. I pray that you have more discernment to know not to overextend yourself. I pray that you actually sit down and understand. Do not ever be afraid to tell a man exactly what you're looking for at the beginning and cut your loss. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing. Because I promise you, he's going to be like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then he's going to be on to the next woman doing the same damn thing. The same damn thing. Until that one person actually does give him that shot. And then he's going to fumble the ball. So don't even sweat that. Honestly. So my question for you, does a ring really change anything? What do you define as wife duty? And should effort increase with commitment? And are expectations really discussed enough in relationships? That's it for today's episode of the Nisi Perspective. And respectfully, that's my perspective. I'll see you on the next one.